Robert Adams was from Windsor, Ontario, a 22-year-old pilot officer who looked 15. After 2 years in the Canadian Air Force, he was loaned to the RAF in North Africa. They gave him a Wellington bomber and a crew of 4 Britons and 1 Australian, and sent him to bomb the German-held islands of Greece. One Greek island he would hold dear for the rest of his life. The night of November 7th, 1943, Bob Adams' bomber was hit by German flak, and he ditched in the sea a half-mile off the little island of Sifnos. He and his crew struggled ashore to what seemed certain capture. But certain Greek civilians, led by Demetrius Bakias, the Sifnos chief of police, were determined they should not be captured, that these 6 airmen should be hidden from the Germans and helped to escape and fly again and bomb again. Adams lost track of his crew after the war, but remained in touch with Sifnos and Demetrius Bakias. The little policeman reached the rank of major and retired to live in Athens. This year, Canadian evader and Greek helper, dear friends who'd not met in 23 years, returned to Sifnos. "23 years ago, this farmer, George Karavos, discovered 6 airmen huddled under a tree near Chrysopeia, a holy place at the south end of Sifnos. He was the first Siphnian to see Bob Adams. He'll be one of the first to greet him today as Adams makes his long-awaited return. This is a great day for George Karavos, too.
Glad to see you. Delighted to see you.
Thank you. How are you?
Hello there, how are you? There's Mr. Beckius.
5,000 miles by air from their home in Toronto, then a 9-hour sea voyage from Athens. Now, Adams and his wife Joan are sped by taxi to a hero's welcome in the village square at Apollonia. The mayor and the whole town are out to shake his hand.
Welcome. Joan is in How are you?
One welcomer is a widow, proud of her husband's share in Adams' escape, proud of his certificate of patriotism, which she gives to Adams to read.
As a token of gratitude for and appreciation of the help given to the sailors, soldiers, and airmen of the British Commonwealth of Nations, which enabled them to escape from or evade capture by the enemy. Signed by H.R. Alexander, Field Marshal, Supreme Allied Commander, Mediterranean Theater, 1939-1945. Well, that's very good, very good.
In many ways, life in ancient Sifnos has changed little through the centuries. Electricity and the cinema and the island's 4 cars, even the roads, are relatively new. But what is old is good. On Sifnos are simple faith and simple values that have all but disappeared on some bigger and better-known Greek islands. At a restaurant in Apollonia, the retired police officer Demetrius Bakias, with his wife and daughter, none of them speaking English, is host to Adams and his wife. The interpreter is Tony Zambelis, back home in his native Sifnos after 35 years of waiting on table in New York.
Mr. Pagia, I say, is very happy to see those 2 come here because we help many in doing the work, but I don't see anybody.
Tony, I can't speak Greek.
That's all right.
But I talked to a man in Toronto who helped me with some phrases and a few sentences, and I would like to say a little bit in Greek. Ima eftahis ko ima. Stinalada matus philos. Pheromen heratismus apoton Canada. Elpizo nosas
αρέσει.
Ναι.
Αρέσει.
Ας σας δώσω ένα μικρό δώρο, ελπίζω να σας
I'd
αρέσει.
like to give you this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Δεν θα ξεχάσουμε, πέσε την...
Πιστεύω να σας αρέσει, λέει.
Δεν θα ξεχάσουμε ποτέ την καλοσύνη του ανθρώπου αυτού. Ποτέ. Και εγώ και η Σίφνος ολόκληρη.
You never forget, you say, long they live, to help, for you, and you help us to here in the island.
Γιατί για μας,
Well, thank you very much.
για μας είχαν περιττά τα δώρα. Μόνον η παρουσία του.
The present, for him, you don't mean nothing. He wants you to see you.
I see.
That's all. He wants to see you. If he see you, he don't care for him.
Well, I want to see everybody here.
Never mind.
Very good.
Very, very much.
Very
Oh,
nice.
you're very, very welcome.
Very, very much.
Best wishes and many thanks from your Canadian friend, Bob Adams.
Very good.
All right. Good.
All Sifnos knows the story. How Adams was hidden in a monastery. How his presence was kept from the island's children, lest they unwittingly tip the Germans. How starving Siphnians climbed a mountain to embrace the 6 airmen and give them cheese and figs and precious cigarettes.
In our village, and we wish you good welcome here.
Adams, now a member of the Canadian branch of the Royal Air Force's Escaping Society, had for years sent little gifts to the schoolchildren of Sifnos. Modest thanks for the islanders' help in '43. But how really do you thank people who risked their very lives for you? Because the penalty for helping Allied airmen was death. Anthony Trulos was 12 in 1943. He's now the schoolteacher at the village of Katopatali, and from him hundreds of Greek children have learned a little Canadian history and geography and the story of Robert Adams.
Welcome, Mrs. and Mr. Adams, to our school. Thank you for your visit and for your love to island Sifnos. Please take some flowers from my village.
Mrs. and Mr. Adams, we are very pleased to see you in our island and some more in our small village and in our school. Please take from me a book who I have write the history of my island. This belongs to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Trudeau. That's very good of you, I'm sure, and we are very happy to be here and see these children. When we come in the room, they all start clapping. It's very touching.
Now the song for you, one song. This song belongs to liberty. Ελευθερία, προσέξτε παιδιά, εμένα θα βλέπετε, έτσι. Αυτή είναι η ελευθερία, όλοι μαζί προσέξτε. Έτοιμοι.
Ήρθα με τη ελευθερία, μια μέρα γεννηθήκαν, σαν αδερφές αχωριστές, μαζί ανατραφήκαν, σαν αδερφές αχωριστές, μαζί ανατραφήκαν, σαν αδερφές αχωριστές, μαζί ανατραφήκαν, σαν αδερφές αχωριστές, μαζί ανατραφήκαν.
There are 3 schools on Sifnos, so Adams and his wife, of course, visit all 3. The little island of 2,500 has 2 main communities, and each has a fiesta in Adams' honor. Apollonia's party is in the village cinema, and it's a capacity crowd. Anthony Trulos reads his chronicle of Robert Adams.
And now, dear friend from Canada, you fulfill the most beautiful dream of your life. The breeze of freedom accompanies you to Sifnos, to this island that so lovingly accepted you shipwrecked in her arms. Accept the island's fragrant flowers as a small repayment of your great love for this place which first received you helpless.
Below the great ancient terraced hills of Sifnos lies Chrysopeia, where long ago, so legend says, a miracle was wrought. Near here, much later, the crippled bomber crashed that night in 1943. Bob Adams goes back to the scenes of his misfortune and his great good luck. With George Caravas, the farmer who discovered the 6 airmen, Adams descends to the big tree where he and his crew sheltered for those first few hours before the dawn.
Careful now. First you put your hands. All right. You go down all right. All right.
We did not read your story in books. We lived it from the 7th to 11th of November 1943. And now we bring it back to our memory like a vision which our prayer has made a reality. We see the holy power of our Chrysopeia guiding your plane in its difficult way. We see your fall with fright in the holy fragrance of the sea, and we give glory to our Virgin as you appear shipwrecked on the shore. You did not know what you were to face in our island, therefore you stayed for hours near the sea. But Chrysopeia gave her blessing and sent to meet you the right people in the right time.
Kalimera.
George Caravas was the first of many right people. He and Adams retraced the rocky paths the evading airmen took in 1943 to the house where Caravas lived.
Γιώργη, αυτή είναι που έφερες τους κυρίους εδώ, είναι το σπίτι που τους έφερες τους κυρίους αυτούς.
Ναι, αυτό είναι το σπίτι και μου ζητήσανε νερό.
What did he say? These men here, the first time they bring you here, you are thirsty, but you're afraid they give you water, but you're afraid to drink the water.
We're afraid to drink the water?
Water, because you think some poison or something like that.
Yes, yeah.
But the man, he started to drink first. All of a sudden, those boys, you see the man, you drink the water, you grab the water, they drink it.
So he drinks it, then it's okay for us to drink.
Okay. First, you gotta be dry myself.
I don't remember being thirsty.
From the farmhouse where Caravas proved his friendship by drinking from the same cup he offered the suspicious airmen, Adams again climbs stony trails to his mountain sanctuary.
Mr. Adam, I don't think you remember this road to be here.
I remember walking hills like this.
Then you took the way to safety, and your love for our island started. And you ended up in the monastery of the Mountain Virgin.
I remember the tail gunner was quite worried at this stage because we hadn't talked to anybody that could speak English. We didn't know where we were. And he had reached the stage where he wanted to give himself up or do something just so that he could get word back home somehow, because his mother was a widow and he didn't think that she could stand all this. So we finally got him quietened down, and eventually everything worked out okay.
To Demetrius Bacchius, the policeman, the monastery seemed the ideal hiding place. The Germans on nearby Milos sent patrols to Sifnos several times a week. But only seldom did the enemy enter any of the island's 368 churches and chapels. In this old white monastery, the exhausted airmen could rest and prepare for escape, safely and in secret.
But your secret could not be kept. A human swarm of Siphnians took the mountain road to meet you. Bread and cheese and eggs, cookies and almonds and figs were our offering to you. Your presence had changed the holy place into a majestic national worship. Lutes and violins arrived to smooth your pain. Your unexpected presence was a foretelling of freedom. But it was a dangerous game, for the conquerors were still in Milos.
Well, you remember this room?
Well, I do. I do. I remember the six of us being here having dinner one night. Wasn't a big dinner. It was when we were here not very long. And the sixth airman here and the priest with the whiskers. But the thing I really remember best of all about the whole monastery is out at the patio, or what I call a patio. And we're sitting there, and all day long there are people coming up the hill, coming up and shaking hands and kissing in and handing all these cigarettes, nuts, oranges, and food. And we knew that conditions were bad and they were hungry and starving, but we didn't really realize how bad it was, because last night at the party, we were told that 180 people on this island died. And they didn't die naturally, they died because they didn't have enough to eat.
The second fiesta for Adams is in a tiny restaurant in Arteman. To the beat of Sifnos music and the splash of the good Retsina wine of Sifnos, Bob Adams is once again given the hero treatment. Pulikalo, he's learned to say. Everything is just wonderful. Pulikalo. The Council of Arteman has made Adams an honorary citizen. To make sure Adams knows what this means, an old man who, like so many Greeks, was a world-traveling sailor in his youth, tries a few dimly remembered English words.
You're born in the Sifno now. You're born in the Sifno. No more in Canada.
I belong to Sifnos now. Well, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Efkaristo. It's a great pleasure for me to be here tonight. This touches my heart and is quite affecting for me. You were very kind to me many years ago when you gave my crew and myself cigarettes, vino, ouzo, and it was very kind and generous of you. The little children that we've seen at the schools were not even born when I was here before in the war, but I hope they realize that their parents and their grandparents were very kind and very generous to us. Thank you very much.
Good luck. Good luck. All the people for the Sifnos, he likes to come back next year.
Next year? Well, I'd like to come back next year. I'd like some of you people to come and see me in Canada.
Because if you come next year, maybe you'll find the people here. The people is going away. All men now.
Next day, Adams and Bacchius show Joan Adams where they met, where the friendship of evader and helper started 23 years ago.
And down there is where we
left by boat for Sifnos in the middle of the night, and I'd like to take you down and show that to you. It's called Christopigi.
No,
Now,
Christopigi. Christopigi.
well, I'd like to see it.
Yes, Christopigi.
Okay. Now, how do you pronounce that again?
Πώς το λες τώρα αυτό, ξαναπες το πάλι.
Christopigi?
The legend says that centuries ago, the local saint rescued two Sifnos women who were fleeing from pirates. He smashed the rocky headland and cut off Chrysopii from the rest of Sifnos, and the pirates from the terrified women. The islanders bridged the cleft in the rock and built a chapel as a thank offering. So it was a holy place, the place of a miracle, where Bob Adams ditched, and from which 4 nights later, he and his crew sailed to the island of Sifnos, where Bacchius knew a half-dozen British commandos were hiding. Airmen and commandos together were taken off Sifnos by a Royal Navy gunboat disguised as a fishing vessel. Hiding by day, moving by night, they made Cyprus and safety a week later.
An adventurous story and a pleasant one, because its epilogue ended by your coming back.
You're born in the Sifnos now. You're born in the Sifnos, no more in Canada.
All those ways.
Mrs. and Mr. Anders to our school. Thank you for your visit and for your love to island Sifnos.
It's very happy to see those two come here because we help many in doing the work, but I don't see anybody. Very, very much.
Very nice. You're very, very welcome.
The present for him, it don't mean nothing. He wants you to see you.
180 people on this island died. And they didn't die naturally. They died because they didn't have enough to eat.
How many years ago?
23 and a half.
23 and a half.
Haven't seen that long. You know, in many ways.
23 years.
Seems like a long time ago.
And now you fulfill the most beautiful dream of your life. The breeze of freedom accompanies you to Sifnos, to this island that so lovingly accepted you shipwrecked in her arms.
Well, I guess so.
This song belongs to liberty. Ελευθερία, προσέξτε παιδιά, εμένα θα βρείτε, έτσι. Αυτή είναι η ελευθερία, όλοι μαζί προσέξτε. Έτοιμοι.
Η Ελλάδα με τη ελευθερία μια μέρα γεννηθήκαν σαν αδελφές αχωριστές.
The producers acknowledge with thanks the assistance of the Royal Air Force's Escaping Society. The evaders and escapers who are members of that society keep in touch with their wartime helpers and do what they can with the help of the public to alleviate the poverty and distress which exists among some of those brave and unsung individuals.